My name is Barry from Floor Mechanics, and we often get calls for advice on people's existing floors or future floors. And sometimes we have to advise customers on floors that have recently been installed by potentially other contractors or installers. And we had a client reach out to us who shared some photographs of a glue-down LVT herringbone floor that had been installed in her new build townhouse. And in the photographs, I was a bit concerned and always curious about flooring and technical and geeking out on those kind of things, which we naturally do here. I pop around to go and have a look. Now, I've got a couple of the images here that I want to share with you, and wow, even on entering the job site, we noticed that there was very poor cuttings done up against thresholds leading into bathrooms. There was still remedial works that was needing to be done on the substrate. And when you got a vinyl floor that's running tight up to that, you're going to need to sand out and potentially do screed remedial and adjustment to the substrate, and you can't rush the vinyl install component. You need to actually do the remedial to the screed and then come back and do the vinyl. In this case, it seems to have been done the other way around. And what's happening here is that you have a job site where it's obviously a low bid has come in. They're throwing installers onto the job site who don't necessarily have the full technical skill, who are not able to read the site correctly. And for a site manager who is rushing the project along, and the site is receiving the floor too early. And you can see here where they're still doing wet works and on the staircase, and you know, that should have been done long before the vinyl even got delivered to site. Unfortunately, here you can see at various stages where it is very poorly cut up against thresholds. The thresholds are really dirty. The substrate hasn't been properly pre-prepped. You can see all the dirt that's happening underneath the floor. And this is showing signs that the glue has been poorly applied. It's not enough glue, and it has dried out before the planks have even been laid into the glue, because you can see from the transfer of glue onto the back of the plank that there's hardly anything holding these planks down. You can see how easy it is to lift the plank up, and that shouldn't be the case. So as I'm walking through the job site with my reverb stick, what I'm listening to is I'm listening to the sound that the reverb stick is making on top of the vinyl, and you can hear very distinctly if the vinyl has been bonded to the topping or the screed or not. And I can hear that there are multiple planks that are too dry, that haven't actually been bonded or pushed into a receivable glue. And this is displaying as where the plank's now going through a thermal change in the environment, where LVT heats up, it expands, and when it cools down, it contracts. So where it heats up, over the last couple of weeks, we've had a nice hot weather here in Cape Town, they actually burp. They give a lifted edge to them. You can also get that visual from moisture, but I checked the moisture here. The moisture was fine, but what I can see is when I pull those planks up that there's poor glue transfer and the planks are burping. They're pushing up against each other. And this is clearly evident throughout this job site. The gapping on the floor, upstairs, downstairs, obviously the herringbone has gone out a little bit and there's gapping occurring. Also totally unacceptable. The client has obviously paid good money for the job. It is a reputable builder. He's used a subcontractor flooring installation company, and this floor is just falling apart. The only way to get around correction of this floor is to totally redo it. There is no fixing this floor. Let me be absolutely clear. When you have so many things going wrong, where it is a dry glue, there's not enough glue, the planks are moving, the planks are not held in place properly, there's too much dirt underneath the floor, there's gapping, this floor needs to be fully replaced. And that vinyl that's already been purchased and stuck down cannot be reused. You have to start again. And when you start looking at who was the flooring contractor managing this job site, were they putting the brakes on and saying no to the main contractor, saying you're putting your floor at risk? Or were they just being bullied into getting it down quickly because maybe the main contractor was hitting timelines and pressure from the end consumer for handover? We don't know. But there's been multiple failures in this project where each role player has failed. And this has put the whole floor in jeopardy. and this floor will need to be redone. And any possible saving due to having a really low bid or really low install rates or a really cheap product, and this is not a budget product. This is a reputable brand, a reputable product, but unfortunately, the only thing that's failed here is the installation and the technical assessment of the site. And we find that so many of the customers, we all get pressured by price point. I understand price point. I understand, we're trying to get things done for as cost effective as possible. But do you want to do it at the risk of the entire project failing and having to repurchase all of the stock and having to go through the remedial of cleaning all this damaged glue and product off-site, the time delays, the labor delays and costing, it's just knock on. So if I can share any main point that we are observing here, we're observing in multiple instances in our workplace, is that understand who is it that's taking control of the site, when is the site being handed over, and do they have the technical skill to install your investment correctly.